Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would answer the question. This actually came up on my Facebook page of someone asking, "Hey, should we be doing the strict press or should we be doing the push press?" And actually, I've seen a few comments on it when I made a video purely about the strict press the other day, which is an exercise I'm quite fond of, and I spent a lot of time building my strength up on it earlier this year and last year, and getting my stuff to where I could do a training max of 225 every day with it for a while for a single. And interesting question, and I've seen some people say, well, don't you always say that more range of motion is usually better and more weight is better? But I think the point that we need to factor in with that question is effective range of motion and more weight. Because really the difference here is that the push press isn't more range of motion for the upper body. It's the fact that you're adding a dip to it and using a leg drive that's creating more range of motion. But the joints of the upper body, your elbows, your shoulder joint, scapula, all of those things. All right, those are not moving any further on the push press. And in fact, the leg drive is allowing you to utilize a little bit less chest and everything else out of the bottom of it. So truth be told, it's as far as a lot of that goes, I think the only real extra overload you get out of the push press is going to be on the triceps. I generally agree on that. And it's not necessarily just because of the lockout at the top. It has to do with the eccentric overload that the triceps get on the way down. And here's the thing. The push press is an amazing exercise. But I think if you're going to even try to build a push press, I think that you need to build a foundation with the strict press. In other words, you see a lot of people start out, and you'll even see some personal trainers out there. I see them starting people on a push press, and they're not even doing a full range of motion push press. And it's not to say that it's not a good exercise, and I can see the merit of thinking maybe, hey, it would be a good exercise for one of my clients who just needs better body composition and needs to lose weight and stuff. But, squats and deadlifts and things do a much better job of that. So, not saying it doesn't have its place, but I think for novices, I would never have them do a push press. The push press, in my opinion, is a bit more sport specific. Meaning, if you have a sport to where you need to throw or punch and things like that, I think the push press is a very, very, very valuable exercise. If you're in a sport where maybe you need additional leg explosiveness, so let's say you need to jump for basketball, all right? Or you need to be a hammer thrower or a shot putter or a boxer or an MMA fighter. Maybe even, American football player. You need to hit someone out on a playing field. I think the push press becomes very valuable. Maybe if you compete in strongman because of the impact it has on your log press and everything. The push press is very, very valuable for those. Even potentially valuable for Olympic lifters, right? All of these people can benefit from the push press, but what is it they all have in common? They have a sport-specific element that benefits from it. But here's what we're talking about in terms of raw strength, because that is more of a sport-specific thing, meaning it's using a leg drive and leg explosiveness while, again, doing a press. If you're just trying to get stronger, the strict press is a better exercise. If your goal is to put more size and strength on your upper body, the strict press is a better exercise. Why? Because you have to do dead stop training off your chest. You have to do dead stop training at the bottom. You have to recruit a lot of muscle fibers to get the weight moving. And you have to do so, you do so with a slightly lighter weight so you can get more training volume and there's a little less axial loading. Although that's really a minor point, that does make it slightly easier on some of the joints in your arms, like your wrists and elbows and everything over the long haul with higher volumes of training. But it's the fact that you have more tension at the bottom. You have to do a lot more to get that weight started. All right, there's a lot more involved. So you get more chest, more anterior deltoid. All of that has to be recruited harder. And then different parts of the tricep get worked a little more. So I think in terms of just overall strength gains for the upper body, the strict press is a lot better of an exercise. And as far as putting just extra meat on all of that stuff, the strict press is a dramatically better exercise. It's a dramatically better exercise. In fact, even when we start talking about bench press accessories, I've seen that come up a lot with a lot of strength coaches as far as an overhead press for bench press accessory. You see that argued. And what is it that you will generally see the coaches that agree on? Now, the push press can carry over to the bench, and there are some amazing benchers who are very amazing at the push press. There's no doubt about that. But as most coaches note who see people who train those two lifts as far as an accessory goes, if we want to count it that way, although a lot of people feel like the bench press, and particularly the close grip bench press, is a better accessory for the press than the press is for the bench press. I know plenty of people who feel that way. Some of the guys over at even the Starting Strength online coaching have mentioned that. I've seen that brought up in some of their topics. We have Freaked over there, 550, says the same thing, that he feels like the bench press carried over to his strict press better than the strict press carried to the bench press. That he built a massive strict press just by benching. And as soon as he started doing the strict press, he was already strong at it. Yeah, there's truth to that. So what's been noted, though, is that there are guys out there who do have a very impressive push press who are weak benchers, right? But you don't see many people who are good at the strict press who can't bench. And the reason for that has to do with things like the chest involvement, moving the weight out of the bottom, having to explode it from a pause. That makes a tremendous difference when we start talking about things like carrying over to the bench press. So if you're going to do one of these lifts as an accessory to the bench press, I think there's a good case, both looking at the biomechanics as well as looking at the anecdote of a lot of really good coaches out there, that the strict press simply has better carryover. It has better carryover to the bench press. Just like we know pause benching has better carryover to the bench press than board pressing does, right? Not saying it doesn't carry over. I mean, if you add 100 pounds to your 2-board press, your bench press is going to go up. But not as much as if you add similar percentages on your, your close grip bench press or pause bench, right? So it's the fact that it's the full range of motion with a lot of the work being done at the hardest part where there's the most tension, and that involves very similar to what you do on the bench press, right? You do get more pectoral involvement and everything else, especially that dead stop aspect of it. And what you have to factor in is that in order to build a good push press, what's the best way to build your push press? To build a base on the strict press. What is it I tell you guys? That a healthy, strong young man should be able to press 200 pounds, right? That should be a goal. That's a benchmark that you reach for. And I'm not the only person out there who says that. That is something I absolutely agree with Ripito on. I think he's right on that. I agree 100%. A healthy young man should be able to press 200 pounds overhead. All right. If you build your strict press to at least 200 pounds and then you start push pressing versus if you just start push pressing from day one and you spend the same number of years developing the push press, who's going to be stronger? The guy who built the strict press first, because you built the foundation for that exercise, right? You built a foundation for that exercise. Now, obviously, if you don't do any leg training or anything else, that's going to be different. But if someone actually does a lot of squatting, whether it's back squatting and arguably front squatting arguably carries over quite well to the push press. If you've done a fair amount of back squatting, front squatting, and you build your press up to, 200 pounds, and then you start push pressing, your push press is going to go up real fast, and you're going to end up with a pretty good push press. Whereas if you just start with the push press by itself, it's going to take longer to build because you didn't build that base strength off of the base exercise first. So ultimately, what I would say is that anyone who wants to start push pressing, let's say you have a sport-specific need to push press. Let's say you want to play football. All right, you're a high school football player, or you're going to box, or you're going to be a shot putter, or you want to go do some MMA and you want to do the push press because it's going to carry over to your sport. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good idea. But I would say you probably need to spend a solid year building your strict press first. Build the press first. Use that to lay your foundation. Right? You're going to put on a lot of size and strength in your upper body, your upper chest, your triceps, your delts, your traps. All of that stuff is going to grow from it. Right? You're going to build a foundation for the exercise, and you're going to end up being a lot better at the push press as a result of it. and you're going to be overall stronger. So you're going to be better off for it. So realistically, the people who want to do push press really need to be doing both exercises. Whereas in the people who don't worry about the push press because they don't necessarily need it for sport specific reasons or anything else, can just focus on the press and they'll get usually what they need out of it. But if you want to push press, you probably need to do both exercises, not just the push press. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.